I saw two of those.
Then it goes in
Oh,
the environmental.
environmental.
Which they already got there.
I move we call the meeting to order. Could everybody stand and move your hand? Say the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move we approve the agenda, but not necessarily in that order. Motion by Tim, second by Dan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Consent agenda item. Does anybody have anything they'd like to pull from the consent agenda? Talk about? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda item as presented.
Second.
I'll move it then. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. Chairman's report. In the consent agenda items was our road maintenance building, and Scott Road is falling apart pretty bad. But when McCutcheon was redone to the east, they dropped the intersection at Scott, so I want that redone so that it's a flat intersection instead of downhill, because people are sliding through it. But they're so busy, the engineer that worked on Gilbert has left and went back to work for the state, so they're short one engineer, so that might get put off till 26, which ain't gonna be the end of the earth, but that road will be in bad shape. It has to go to 26. It blew up last year with all that traffic, and I don't know why, but it did. It had just tons of potholes in it. But anyway, it'll be done whenever it gets done. Public comment, number 5. Does anybody have anything they'd like to speak on that's not on the agenda? Yes.
Steve Hudson, 813 Harborview Road. Just a question as far as, was there going to be a work session for the upcoming ordinance change?
The board decided they didn't want one.
Really?
Yeah.
Weren't you kind of promising though that we would have a chance?
I said I'd asked, and the board didn't want one. And because, just so you know, as I talked to Don when I was telling him, when he and I talked a while back, what happened was we're in the process of changing the way we used to do things to an engineer and a planner now rewriting stuff, and as a consequence that we have to get through how that process works. So the engineer and Amanda started the process, and then the engineer finalized reworking it several times after the planning commission. So they figured the board didn't really need another working session to do that.
But the only reason I bring this up though to that is that now the boosters, of course, they've had pretty much 3 cracks before committees and the board, about 45 minutes to an hour each, explaining their lobbying for this. And yet really the people haven't had a chance to counter their position.
They will at the public hearing.
Well, but the public hearing, the problem with that is it doesn't open a dialogue between the public and the board. The only thing, because they're, you know...
Neither there's a working session, Steve.
What's
The
that?
working session is just a town board.
I know that, but I was hoping to open up, it would be a dialogue back and forth a little bit.
Never.
Because at the public hearing, what's going to happen is, I guarantee what's, can't even think of her name. She'll hold the stopwatch there, you got 2 minutes, and that's it. And there won't be any back and forth. So that's why I'm saying, that's why I think the work session would have been better for people that are maybe opposing to this thing.
You're mistaken about what a working session is. Working session is the board and the clerk sitting down and talking about what we'd like in it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not-
I'm just
it's
saying
not-
maybe
it's not
there would have been an
public
ability in some way of the public having a back and forth discussion over it instead of it just being a point.
But it will be out on the website before the public hearing, and then they can make comments, can't they? Ask them. Okay.
Well, anyway,
All right.
I said my piece.
Okay. Anybody else with anything they'd like to talk about that isn't on the agenda? Number 6, discussion action on temporary limited easement for Biles at 637 Countryside Lane and Morgan at 640 Countryside Lane. Has the board reviewed that?
Yeah, why is it so high?
Bottom money,
Yeah, I mean, it's, we have other, temporary easements.
right, and you just approved those in the consent agenda item tonight.
Right.
Because we weren't sure when Gilbert was gonna happen, and now the county wants to start doing brushing soon and start construction first part of April. So it's all happening in the consent agenda item in this one.
Right.
So is the
what we have in the
what
consent,
started included
Yes.
previously, but
ones we have in the consent are, you know, I mean, none of them are over $2,000.
Correct, and they've been approved before, we just
Right.
never sent the money out.
Yeah.
We weren't sure what was gonna happen.
Exactly, but these are above that.
Yes.
Way above, well, how,
We ended up
behind
having-
this, what's that?
We ended up having to hire a consultant, I don't think we should ever do that again either.
So, are we bound to these?
Yeah,
well, if you want the project to go,
yeah.
So, I mean, I mean, if we had a road.
They wanted more than that, Dan.
I know, if we had a road, and if we had a bunch of people that wanted this, we'd say, well, forget the road then.
Well, honest, I said at one point with the engineer, I said, why don't we just put guardrails up?
Yeah,
Forget the temporary easements.
yeah.
Biles wanted 45 trees. And there were woods, they weren't his front yard, they were just wooded trees in an area. He wanted Shimmons to put in 45 trees, I think we ended up agreeing with 12.
Okay,
Along with, because the temporary easement takes out a bunch of his trees.
so, okay,
And the other one is a drainage area coming off of Gilbert down into her yard. Even though both of their addresses are off, their driveways are off the countryside,
yeah,
but
okay.
they have land on Gilbert.
So this is still, is this the max? Is this all that's left of the, any kind of easements that we might have?
Yes. Yes,
these were the two holdouts.
these were the two holdouts that caused the project to stop in 2024. Okay, any other questions? Anybody? Did I get a motion to approve the temporary easements as presented?
Prejudice? Yes. So I'll second that. What do we do?
Okay, motion by Dan, seconded by Susan. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries 4-0. Discussion action on Tolbrin CSM on lot line adjustment, and 8, discussion action on Tolbrin CSM off Gilbert Road. Both of those need to be postponed until the documents have been reviewed by the attorney and the engineer, and they go to the city for extraterritorial review before we can approve that. So I'd have to come back. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to postpone.
Postpone, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion by Ken, seconded by Dan to postpone. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
So point of discussion.
Yes.
So, okay, so I'm thinking about, you know, in my research, didn't we have a size configuration where, you know, the depth of the lot couldn't be more than 3 times the
Well, it's
frontage?
gone through the county, isn't there?
Is that what- how does that work? Is that the
Well,
county?
they didn't pass the county,
Okay, because it looks like this wouldn't be that.
That would not be, I was worried about it. That, I wouldn't buy that lot, to be honest with you, it's so narrow, all 3 of them, they're just narrow. But because it's on a busy road, they had to put driveways at 100 feet, and they gotta be 200 feet, so they gotta have sharp driveways. That's why it's gotta go to the attorney and back to the engineer. The planning commission looked at it, and they weren't sure what it was. So then it's gotta go back, and then they gotta go to the city with that territorial before it can come back again.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's not ours, I think it's the county that's got that 2-to-1
Yeah.
ratio.
Yeah.
There's a 3-to-1? Okay, all in favor of the postponement, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Discussion on the rules for government of town committees and commissions. Have you read through it? Do you have any questions? Any comments?
Well, I observed that on public comments, item number 1 or 7 is that candidates for public office shall be prohibited from electioneering. I think we had that last month.
We did. And they did that at the WTA too.
They're pretty too.
Do we want to say that nobody can ever talk about running in any place in the meeting or what? That's his point.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
That's how-
are we going to continue to leave this, stand the way it is, and, or are we going to adjust it? Or?
It's up to you guys. Most people don't know how to have their meetings with electioneering.
Well, I say we should maintain the way it is, because I can see how it could run out of control.
You want to leave it as
Yeah.
not able to talk? Right. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm gonna lose my place in here, but the resident that will be basically on the planning commission, they need to come to the office and say so.
That's what, well, yes, or if there's somebody that, if we have a vacancy, it can be recommended by the board or the chair to fill somebody if we don't have a list.
But otherwise, somebody could come,
If they're interested, they can get
interested, they
over.
could come to the office and get on the list.
Yes,
And then that possible open seat would be voted on then by the whole board.
Well, it's the chairman's recommendation and then the board takes it.
correct. That's the way it's always been.
So that's what I'm trying to get through. That we all vote on it.
Yes,
Yes, you
Yes.
vote on the chairman's, he recommends it and it's a vote.
okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the rules as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the rules for government of all board.
I'll second.
Motion by Ken, second by Dan. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries 4-0. Discussion on stormwater management agreement for the Albert subdivision.
This looks like a nice agreement. Was this put together by our engineer? Who put this together?
No, it was put together by Cedar Firm.
Cedar. Okay.
Well, somewhat, because that letter from
And our attorney.
and our attorney, is a letter from Chief Culver was, Eric was involved with that too, to make sure that any water that would spill over into,
The hunt property.
Hunt property, that
But it says here drafted by Dustin, so Dustin, obviously, like it. The attorney has looked at it, we made some changes to it, they updated all that.
were you the one who was telling me the reason for doing it this way is so that we'll approve these stormwaters, and then as each lot comes in, they're just referenced to this.
No, we're doing it as one parcel, because that's what it is right now. And then is approved, this automatically rolls over onto, otherwise they have to wait. 'Cause
So
you have to
it looks like
identify.
it looks like it's got everything in it here.
Well, but see, the cover sheet, you have to have the parcel numbers, so then they would have to wait,
Yeah,
and it just makes it so it's just cleaner to do it with
yeah.
one, and then there'll be a notation on the plat as well.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Susan. And any further? Well, yeah, Ken. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Any items for future agenda items?
So are we going to, we're not going to discuss this at all?
We don't have, it's done, basically. I don't think.
But then we have no input if it's done.
Do you want to discuss it?
I believe we should discuss it amongst us, yes.
Okay.
I honestly,
Yeah,
I do think
You don't
we
got
do.
it.
I think we do, because I don't want to feel out of the loop. I know we have to have engineers look at things, but I don't feel comfortable voting on something if we can't be part of the conversation.
When do you want to meet?
Let's work together and find a date.
Well, do we meet after the public hearing so that, whatever we gather from that, or do we,
You could.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, then we won't be voting on anything. We can meet
Right.
and we can,
Well, I mean, it is scheduled, so you have to go there.
we don't
well,
have to vote.
Right, you don't have to.
So I think that makes a lot of sense, so that we can have conversation after the public input.
Who's one of them, one of
It'll be one
So would you, you're not going to vote on it?
Not vote on it that night, but we can,
You'd wait a month to vote on it until the 25th of March?
no, I think we should discuss this, yes. I mean, that's my opinion. Anybody else have an
I
opinion
agree
here?
with that. Yeah, that would be my preference also.
So would you do it after the,
Whatever.
So after the public hearing, at, 6 o'clock, then we could have a discussion, work section,
No,
you know.
no.
I don't know.
We could we would do it another day, like a week
Okay.
later or something like that, and then we'd pick up in May.
So you
Well,
could,
it has to go back to plan commission.
if you make changes to it, it's got to go back.
Okay.
Okay.
So we should probably do it, because they'll be on the 17th. We should probably try a working session that week of the 3rd of March, should we? So any changes we can get back to get it on the planning commission agenda. Does that make sense to you?
Third March work with you? Okay. How about you?
Yeah,
3rd of March.
3rd of March.
What time works for Ken?
4.
You're the only working person.
4.
Thank you.
Okay. 3rd of March.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
So 4 o'clock on 3rd of March.
Yep. Honest, I've seen so many different iterations of that, I don't even know what the most current one is. So before the working session, we'll have to have copies of that. Okay. All right, any further discussion on future agenda items? And move
sign it